Will you be my date to my ex's Valentine wedding? The words came out wrong, too loud, too desperate, the kind of question that makes strangers look away and pretend they didn't hear. But I'd already said it. The two men across the table stopped mid-conversation, identical faces, sharp jawlines, eyes that missed nothing. I watched their expressions shift from surprise to something I couldn't read, and my stomach dropped to my knees. I shouldn't be here, shouldn't be doing this. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the edge of their table just to stay upright. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversations and clinking glasses, the kind of place where people came to close business deals and celebrate promotions, not beg strangers for help. "I can pay you," I added quickly, hating how my voice cracked. "Whatever you want. And I just need someone to go with me. Two someones, actually, please." The twin on the left leaned back in his chair. Expensive suit. Watch that probably cost more than my rent. He studied me like I was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "Why us?" he asked. "Because you look important. Because you're clearly wealthy. Because my ex needs to see that I didn't fall apart after he destroyed me. Because you look like the kind of men who could make someone regret their choices," I said instead. The twin on the right smiled. Not kind, not cruel, something in between. "Sit down," he said. "You're making a scene." I hadn't realized I was still gripping their table. My knuckles had gone white. I forced myself to let go and slid into the empty chair, feeling every eye in the restaurant burning into my back. 3 weeks ago, the invitation arrived. Cream-colored envelope, gold lettering, the kind of stationery that screamed money and taste and everything I'd never quite measured up to. "Tajun Lim and Myung Chai request the honor of your presence at their Valentine's Day wedding ceremony." I'd laughed when I opened it, laughed until I couldn't breathe, until the sound turned into something that hurt my throat. Tajun was getting married, on Valentine's Day, to the Omega he'd left me for, and he'd invited me to watch. The envelope also contained a handwritten note in Myung's perfect script. "We'd love for you to be there, Johan. No hard feelings, right? It would mean so much to Taijun to have your support on our special day." Support, as if I should be happy for them, as if the past 3 years hadn't happened. As if Taijun hadn't spent our last 6 months together pulling away, making excuses, telling me I was too cold, too distant, too broken to be a proper Omega. As if he hadn't looked relieved when he finally ended things. As if Myung hadn't smiled at me the first time we met at a charity function, sweet and warm, right before she whispered, "Tajun says you can't even respond to his scent properly. That must be so hard for you." They'd been sleeping together for months before I found out. Everyone knew except me, and now they wanted me at their wedding. Wanted me to stand there and watch while they promised forever to each other, while everyone whispered about poor Johan, who couldn't keep his alpha interested, the defective Omega who drove Taejun away. "Your ex," the twin on the left said, pulling me back to the present. "He's the reason you're here asking strangers for help?" I nodded. My throat felt too tight to speak. "Tell us about him." I didn't want to relive the humiliation, but these men were my only option. I'd been planning this approach for 3 days, working up the courage, and now that I'd started, I couldn't stop. "Taijun Lim," I said. The name tasted bitter. "We were together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. He left me for someone better." "Better how?" "Better connected, better breeding, better at being what an Omega should be." I forced myself to meet his eyes. "I'm defective. At least that's what everyone thinks. That's what he told people after we broke up." The twin on the right leaned forward. His scent hit me then, cedar and something darker, clean and expensive. It made my pulse stutter in a way I didn't want to examine. "Defective," he repeated. "Meaning what?" "Meaning I'm cold, unresponsive, can't bond properly." The words hurt to say out loud. That's the story he's been telling, that he tried everything, but I was just broken. So he found someone who actually works the way an Omega should. Neither of them said anything for a long moment. I waited for the dismissal, the polite rejection, the awkward excuse about prior commitments. Instead, the twin on the left extended his hand across the table. "Roundbeck," he said. "This is my brother, Seojin." I stared at his hand, At the confident way he held it out, like my request hadn't been completely insane. "You'll do it?" I whispered. Seojin's smile widened. "We'll do better than that. One will make sure everyone at that wedding remembers you instead of the bride." Something in his voice made my skin prickle. Not fear, something closer to hope. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you help me?" Round's eyes held mine. Dark, intense. "Because something about you smells like unfinished business. And we've always been good at finishing things, whether on the bed or out there." His words should have been a warning. Instead, they felt like a promise. After exchanging contacts with the twins, a text came at 2:47 in the morning. I'd been staring at my ceiling for hours, replaying the restaurant conversation in my head, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. The photo loaded slowly. Me and Taejun at last year's spring charity gala, his arm around my waist. My smile forced but passable. We'd fought that entire morning about something I couldn't even remember now. Below the photo, "Can't wait to see you at the wedding. It'll be unforgettable." My hands went cold. Someone was watching me. Someone who had access to photos from a year ago. Someone who knew exactly which buttons to push. I knew who it was before I let myself think it. Myung. She'd always been good at the subtle knife twist. The comment that sounded sweet until you replayed it later and realized it was poison. The smile that didn't reach her eyes. She'd spent months dismantling me before Taejun finally left, and now she wanted to make sure I knew she was still in control. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The twins wanted to meet the next morning. Round's text was brief. "Coffee, 9 a.m., Northside Cafe. We need to talk strategy." Strategy? Like this was a business deal. Like my humiliation was something that could be managed with the right approach. Maybe it could be. Maybe that's exactly what I needed. The cafe was small, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. Not the kind of place I expected billionaires to frequent. Round and Seojin were already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with untouched drinks in front of them. "Watch, you look terrible," Seojin said as I sat down. "Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear." Roan slid a coffee across the table toward me. "Didn't sleep?" I pulled out my phone and showed them the text. Watched their expressions shift from curious to dark. "Myung," I said. "It has to be. She's the only one who would do this." Seojin took my phone, studying the photo. "She sent this to intimidate you, make you second-guess coming to the wedding." "It's working." Round's jaw tightened. "We looked into her family last night. The Che family is drowning in debt. 3 failed business ventures in the last 2 years. Her father took out loans he can't repay. This wedding isn't about love. It's a financial rescue operation." Something about that information settled into place. Myung had always been so careful, so calculated, and every move designed to position herself perfectly. "She can't afford anything to go wrong," I said slowly. "Exactly." Round leaned forward. "Which means showing up with us will throw her entire plan off balance. She needs this wedding to be perfect. Needs everyone to see her as the ideal Omega who won Taejun's heart. You walking in with 2 successful alphas ruins that narrative." The thought should have made me feel better. Instead, anxiety crawled up my spine. "What if she does something worse?" I asked. "What if she—" "She won't," Seojin interrupted, "because we'll be there. And trust me, Myung won't want to make enemies of us." There was something in his voice, a warning wrapped in silk. I wanted to ask what he meant, but Rayon was already moving on. "We need to practice," he said. "How we'll act together. What story we'll tell about how we met. The details matter." Right, details. My coffee had gone cold. I hadn't touched it. Seojin stood and moved to the empty chair beside me instead of across the table. The shift put him close. Too close. I could smell his cologne, something expensive and clean with an edge of cedar underneath. "People will be watching us," he said, looking for cracks in the story. "We need to seem comfortable with each other. Natural." He reached over and brushed a strand of hair from my face. The gesture was casual, intimate, exactly the kind of thing a real boyfriend would do. My body reacted before my brain caught up. Heat flooded my skin. My pulse kicked into overdrive. The suppressants I'd taken that morning should have dulled any physical response. Una, but suddenly I was hyper-aware of every point where Seojin's presence pressed against my space. This wasn't supposed to happen. I jerked back, nearly knocking over my coffee. Sorry, I need to use the bathroom. Round's eyes tracked me as I stood, too observant, too knowing. I locked myself in the single-stall bathroom and gripped the sink, staring at my reflection. Flushed cheeks, dilated pupils, rapid breathing. What the hell was that? Suppressants didn't just reduce heat symptoms. They muted all omega responses to alpha pheromones. I'd been on them since I left Taejun. They'd always worked perfectly. So why had my body just responded to Seojun like I was completely unprotected? I splashed cold water on my face and waited for my heartbeat to slow. This was stress, just stress. Why the wedding had me wound so tight that my body was misfiring. That had to be it. When I came back to the table, both twins were quiet, watching me. We should do this another time, I said. When I'm less, my phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it. Almost left it face down on the table. But something made me look. Text from my pharmacy. Prescription refill request denied. No available stock. Please contact your doctor. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Round asked. I pulled up my pharmacy app with shaking hands. My suppressant prescription? Due for refill in 2 days. The pharmacy had always kept them in stock. Always. I called. The pharmacist sounded apologetic. Someone came in yesterday and bought our entire supply. Paid cash. Yet we won't have more for at least a week. Who bought them? I can't give out customer information, but they left initials for the pickup receipt. MY. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. MY Myungchai. Johan. Seojun's voice came from far away. What happened? I looked up at them, at these two strangers who'd agreed to help me, who had no idea what they'd just walked into. The wedding is in 48 hours, I said. My voice sounded hollow. I have exactly 1 dose of suppressants left, and I think Myung just made sure I'll go into heat in front of 400 people. The suppressants I managed to get looked wrong. Not pharmacy-grade packaging, no proper labels, just a plain bottle with handwritten instructions and a packet of emergency patches that felt too thin between my fingers. The guy who sold them to me operated out of a storage unit on the south side. Cash only, no questions asked. Round had found him after calling every legitimate supplier in the city. They were all sold out, every single one. These will work, the supplier had said, avoiding eye contact. Just don't take more than the recommended dose. The fact that he felt the need to say that should have been my first warning. But I was out of options. The wedding was in 6 hours and I couldn't end to heat. If no alpha responded to my scent, then I would be labeled defective forever. One, their lies against me would stand, but I wasn't going to wait around for them to confirm my status. I took the first dose in my apartment bathroom, hands shaking as I read the smudge instructions. Within 20 minutes, I felt something. Not the usual numbness that good suppressants provided. Something else. A dulling around the edges that felt temporary. Weak. It would have to be enough. The twins picked me up at 4. The drive to the Meridian Hotel felt like marching toward execution. All glass and gold accents, overlooking the river. Valet parking. Red carpet. The kind of place that announced wealth before you even walk through the doors. You look pale, Seojin said from the back seat. I'm fine. You're not fine. His voice carried an edge. If this is too much, we can still turn around. No. The word came out harder than I meant it to. I'm going. I need to go. Round's eyes found mine in the rearview mirror. Then we handle whatever happens in there, together. The parking lot was packed, guests in expensive suits and designer dresses making their way inside. I recognized some of them, people from Taejun's world, people who had smiled at me when we were together, and then whispered about me after we broke up. They were all going to see me walk in with 2 alphas. My stomach twisted. We walked in together, 3 across, me in the middle, the twins flanking me like sentries. The whispers started immediately. Is that Johan? Who are those men with him? Oh my God. Those are the Beck twins. What is he doing with both of them? The main hall was decorated in white roses and red ribbons. Valentine's Day romance taken to its extreme. Hearts everywhere. A giant banner reading, Taejun and Myung, a love story. I thought I might be sick. Myung stood near the entrance in her pre-ceremony dress, holding court with her bridesmaids. She looked perfect, delicate, the ideal blushing bride. Her eyes landed on me, on the twins. She smiled, not a warm smile, a victor's smile. Johan, she called out, loud enough to draw attention. You came, and you brought guests. How unexpected. Congratulations, I managed. It is special, isn't it? She stepped closer. I'm so glad you could be here to witness it. After everything. After everything. Like she hadn't systematically destroyed my reputation while stealing my fiancé. We should find our seats, Round said smoothly, his hand on my elbow. Myung's smile widened. Of course. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. Do stay for the whole thing. There was something in her voice, a warning wrapped in sugar. We found seats in the back. The ceremony began. Taejun at the altar in his perfect suit, Myung walking down the aisle like a princess. Vows exchanged. Promises made. And the entire time I felt the cheap suppressants weakening. My skin grew hot. My pulse elevated. The scent of the twins beside me became sharper, more distinct. Cedar and something darker that made my body respond in ways it shouldn't. I needed to reapply the patch. Now. I'll be right back, I whispered during the reception toast. And the restroom was down a long hallway, away from the main event space. Quieter. I locked myself in the single-stall family bathroom and pulled out the emergency patch. My hands shook as I tried to apply it. The door rattled, then opened. I'd forgotten to lock it properly. Taejun stood in the doorway. Hello, Johan. My heart stopped. Get out. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, locked it. I've been waiting to get you alone. His voice was different, rougher. Did you really think you could show up here with two alphas and I wouldn't notice? Taejun, leave, now. You were supposed to be broken. He moved closer. That's what I told everyone, that you couldn't respond properly. But looking at you now, with them, his hand grabbed my wrist. Maybe I was wrong. Let go of me. Maybe you just needed the right alpha. His other hand pressed against the wall beside my head, trapping me. Maybe you needed me to try harder. Panic flooded my system. Stop. His mouth moved toward my neck, toward the scent gland there. I shoved him, hard. He stumbled back, surprise flashing across his face. And then the door burst open. Mi-young stood there, phone in hand, camera pointed directly at us. Oh my God, she breathed. Her voice carried down the hallway, loud, theatrical. Oh my God, Taejun, what are you doing? Mi-young, wait. You slut. She turned the camera on me, screamed the words. You came here to seduce him on our wedding day. Footsteps thundered down the hallway, guests appearing, bridesmaids, groomsmen, all of them staring at me, disheveled, at Taejun, guilty, at the suppressant patch still clutched in my hand. He cornered me, Mi-young sobbed. Taejun was just trying to help him and he… That's not what happened, I said. My voice sounded hollow, but no one was listening. Mi-young collapsed dramatically. Her mother rushed forward. Taejun tried to explain, his words tripping over themselves, but Mi-young was already walking away. Mi-young, please. Taejun chased after her. The wedding fell apart in real time. Guests murmuring. The ceremony abandoned. Chaos spreading through the venue like wildfire. And I stood in that hallway, frozen, as every eye turned to me, judging, condemning. I walked back through the main hall. My legs felt disconnected from my body. The silence was deafening. 400 people watching me. No one speaking, just staring. Then I saw them. Ryan and Seojin standing near our table. Their expressions unreadable. They moved toward me, fast. Seojin grabbed my arm, not gentle. Ryan on my other side. We're leaving, Ryan said. They rushed me out. Through the lobby, past the whispers, into the cold night air. The car ride was silent until we were 3 blocks away. Then Seojin turned in his seat. His voice was ice. Did you bring us here to embarrass us? I couldn't breathe. What the hell just happened back there? Round's hands gripped the steering wheel. Everyone saw you come out of that bathroom with him. Everyone thinks... I didn't do anything, I said. Then explain. Seojin's eyes bore into mine. Explain why we just walked out of a disaster with our reputations on the line for someone we barely know. They didn't believe me. The silence in that car said everything their words didn't. Round's jaw was tight, his eyes fixed on the road like he couldn't bear to look at me. Seojin had turned away completely, staring out the window, his entire body radiating cold fury. It wasn't what it looked like, I said again. My voice sounded desperate even to my own ears. Taejun cornered me. He grabbed me. I didn't... Stop. Round's voice cut through the darkness. Just stop talking. The words hit like a physical blow. We don't want to hear it right now, Seojin added. His tone was flat, empty. Whatever explanation you have, save it. They thought I'd used them. Thought I'd brought them to that wedding as props in some twisted revenge plot. Thought I'd orchestrated the entire disaster to humiliate my ex and his bride. And I had no way to prove otherwise. The car pulled up to my apartment building. Neither of them moved to get out. Neither of them looked at me. Thank you for... I started. Don't. Round finally turned, and the disappointment in his eyes was worse than anger. Don't thank us. Just go. I got out, stood on the sidewalk and watched them drive away. Watched the taillights disappear around the corner. Then I went inside and fell apart. My apartment felt smaller than usual, suffocating. I sat on the floor with my back against the door and let the shame wash over me in waves. Everything had gone wrong. Worse than wrong. I'd wanted to show Taejun I'd moved on, that I was fine, that he hadn't broken me. Instead, I'd proven exactly what he'd always said, that I was the problem, that chaos followed me, that I destroyed everything I touched, and now I dragged two innocent men down with me. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Myung's face, that triumphant smile. She'd planned this, all of it, the suppressants, the timing, the bathroom confrontation. She'd orchestrated my destruction like a conductor leading a symphony, and I'd walked right into it. Morning came with the sound of my phone exploding. Notifications flooded my screen. Messages, emails, social media tags. I opened one and immediately wished I hadn't. Photos from the wedding, me and Taejun in that bathroom. The angle made it look intimate, made it look like I'd initiated it. The caption read, "Wedding homewrecker caught in the act." The comments below were vicious. He couldn't let them be happy. Brought two fake dates to make his ex jealous. Pathetic. Poor Myung. Imagine your wedding being ruined by a desperate ex. I scrolled through dozens of posts, hundreds, all saying the same thing, all painting me as the villain. Then I saw the news alert. Breaking, Taejun Lim and Myung Chai wedding postponed indefinitely following scandal. My stomach dropped. Postponed. Not canceled. Postponed. Which meant Myung was milking this, playing the victim, making sure everyone knew that I'd ruined her special day so thoroughly that she needed time to recover, and it made me look even more guilty. I tried calling Round, straight to voicemail, Seojin. Same thing. They'd blocked me. 3 days passed in a blur. I didn't leave my apartment, didn't answer calls from unknown numbers, didn't check social media after that first morning. I existed in a fog of shame and regret, replaying the wedding over and over. I'm wondering what I could have done differently. On the fourth day, a different kind of news alert appeared on my phone. Beck Industries faces investor scrutiny following wedding scandal involvement. My hands went cold. I clicked the article. Read about how the twins' company was under fire, how investors were questioning their judgment, how business deals were falling through because of their association with me, stock prices dropping, public image damage, professional reputations on the line. Because of me, I searched for more, found dozens of articles, photos of Round and Seojun leaving their office building, surrounded by reporters. Headlines dissecting their involvement, speculation about their relationship with me. One article included a video clip, a reporter shoving a microphone in Round's face. "Mr. Beck, can you comment on your involvement in the Lim wedding scandal?" Round's expression was carefully neutral. Professional. No comment. Is it true you and your brother were hired to pose as the suspect's dates? We're not discussing this matter publicly. Your company's stock has dropped 12% this week. Do you regret getting involved? Round paused, just for a second, and in that pause I saw everything. The cost of helping me. The price they were paying for my desperate request in a restaurant 3 weeks ago. Next question, Rayon said, and pushed past the cameras. I watched the clip 3 times. Each time the guilt grew heavier. They'd said yes when I asked for help. They'd shown up when I needed them. They'd stood beside me even when it was clearly a disaster waiting to happen. And now they were paying for it. Their business, their reputation, their entire professional lives being torn apart because I dragged them into my mess. I couldn't let them keep suffering for my mistakes. The truth needed to come out. All of it. The suppressed pharmacy records with Myung's initials. The threatening text messages. The real story of what happened in that bathroom. Even if it meant destroying what was left of my own reputation. Even if no one believed me. Even if it changed nothing, I had to try. For them. I pulled up the contact information for Channel 7 News, the station that had been covering the scandal most aggressively, the one with the reporter who'd ambushed Rayon outside his office. My finger hovered over the call button. This would make everything worse before it got better, would put me in the spotlight I'd been hiding from, one would force me to relive the humiliation publicly. But the twins didn't deserve this, didn't deserve to have their lives ruined because they'd helped a stranger. I grabbed my jacket. Found the printed pharmacy records I'd requested, the screenshots of Myung's texts, the timeline of events I'd written out in desperate, sleepless hours. Evidence. Proof that I wasn't the villain everyone thought I was. The news station was downtown, 15-minute drive. I could be there in 20 if I left now. I looked at myself in the mirror, exhausted, broken, but determined. The twins had stood beside me when I needed them most. Now it was my turn to stand alone. I walked out of my apartment, evidence tucked under my arm, and headed for my car. The news station loomed ahead. Glass doors, bright lights, my cameras that would broadcast my face to thousands. I took a deep breath and walked through the doors. The interview I did with the news channel aired at 7. I watched from my apartment, hands shaking, as my face filled the screen. The reporter had been surprisingly kind during the taping. Professional. She'd asked direct questions and let me present my evidence without interruption. The pharmacy records showing MY purchasing the entire suppressant stock. The screenshots of the threatening text. The timeline of events leading up to the bathroom confrontation. It all looked so clear in my hands. So damning. On screen, I looked desperate. These initials could belong to anyone, the reporter said gently. Do you have proof they belong to Ms. Che? Who else would have a reason to... And these text messages, they came from an unknown number, no way to verify the sender. I watched myself fumble for an answer. Watched the certainty drain from my expression as she poked holes in every piece of evidence I'd brought. By the time the segment ended, I looked like exactly what everyone already thought I was. A liar, a desperate ex, someone willing to destroy others to save himself. The comments started within minutes. He's delusional if he thinks anyone believes this. MY could stand for 100 different names. This proves nothing. Those texts are probably fake. Easy to fabricate screenshots. The pharmacy thing is circumstantial at best. He's grasping at straws. But the worst ones came an hour later. The Beck twins are obviously making him say this. Their company is tanking, and they need someone to blame. Poor guy is being manipulated by billionaires trying to save their reputation. And this is what happens when rich alphas use vulnerable omegas as shields. I read that last comment 3 times, feeling sicker with each pass. They thought the twins were using me, thought Raun and Seojin had pushed me to go public with a false narrative to deflect blame from themselves. I'd made everything worse. The news cycle picked it up immediately. Within 2 hours, every major outlet was running the story. Not about Myung's schemes, about the twins' alleged manipulation of a scandal-plagued Omega. Beck Industries stock dropped another 8%. My phone buzzed with a notification, a statement from Myung's legal team. Ms. Chai is disappointed by these baseless accusations. Unlike Mr. Seo's flimsy conspiracy theories, we have concrete evidence that will vindicate her completely. Would we ask for privacy during this difficult time as she recovers from this traumatic experience? Concrete evidence. She had the video of the restroom. Something real that would destroy whatever credibility I had left. I turned off my phone, turned off the television, sat in the dark and let the weight of my failures crush me. I'd wanted to help the twins, wanted to clear their names and take responsibility for the disaster I'd caused. Instead, I'd dragged them deeper into the mud, made them look like manipulators, given their critics ammunition to tear them down further. Everything I touched turned to ash. 3 days passed. I didn't leave my apartment, didn't answer the door when someone knocked, didn't eat more than what I could force down to keep my body functioning. The world outside continued without me. The scandal evolved. It had new angles, new accusations, but I stopped following it. What was the point? On the 4th day, I opened my laptop out of habit more than interest. Social media loaded automatically. My feed filled with posts I hadn't searched for. Breaking news from the Chai family company. I almost closed the browser, almost refused to look at whatever new humiliation Mi-young had planned. But something made me click. The announcement was slick, professional. A video of Mi-young herself, looking radiant and composed, standing in front of a backdrop displaying her new brand logo. After the challenges of recent weeks, she said, her voice soft and strong simultaneously, I've learned the importance of self-care and resilience. That's why I'm so excited to announce the launch of Che Beauty, a luxury skincare line designed to help you feel beautiful even during life's most difficult moments. The camera panned to show products. Elegant bottles, minimalist packaging, the kind of branding that screamed expensive and exclusive. Every product is formulated with the highest quality ingredients, Mi-young continued, because you deserve to feel confident and valued no matter what you're facing. The video ended with her signature, a website link, pre-order information. I checked the company stock prices. Che Industries had skyrocketed, up 43% in a single day. The comments under the announcement were glowing, supporting Mi-young after everything she's been through. Comments poured in, already pre-ordered 3 sets. She deserves our support. This is how you turn trauma into triumph. Me queen behavior. My stomach turned, the timing, the careful messaging, the way she'd positioned herself as a victim who'd emerged stronger. This wasn't coincidence. The wedding, the scandal, the public humiliation, all of it had been calculated to create maximum buzz around her name, to generate sympathy and attention and controversy that she could leverage into a successful brand launch. She'd used me, used Taejun, used the entire situation as a marketing strategy, and it had worked perfectly. I grabbed my phone before I could second-guess myself, pulled up Rayon's number, the one that had gone straight to voicemail for days. My finger hovered over the call button. They wouldn't answer. Why would they? I'd made everything worse, had proven myself to be exactly the kind of disaster they should have avoided from the beginning. But they needed to know, needed to understand that Mi-young's endgame had never been about the wedding or Taejun or even me. It had been about money, about turning personal drama into profit. I hit call, expected voicemail, expected the automated message I'd heard a dozen times. Instead, the line connected. Johan. Round's voice was cold, controlled, nothing like the warmth I remembered from before the wedding. My throat closed. I know you don't want to hear from me. You're right, we don't. The words hit like a slap. I almost hung up. But we need to talk, Round continued. Come to our penthouse, now. Round, this isn't a request. You've dragged us into this situation. You owe us a conversation. Seojin's voice came through in the background, too quiet to make out the words, but audible enough to know he was there. Listening. Okay, I whispered. When? Now means now. We'll send a car. Be ready in 20 minutes. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, at the black screen reflecting my pale, exhausted face. They wanted to see me, after days of silence, after I'd made everything exponentially worse. This wasn't reconciliation. This was reckoning. I changed clothes, splashed water on my face, tried to make myself look like something other than the disaster I'd become. The car arrived exactly 20 minutes later. Black sedan, tinted windows, Professional driver who didn't speak as I climbed into the back seat. The drive to their penthouse felt like being escorted to my own execution. What would they say? How would they look at me? Would this be closure? The moment they told me to stay away from them permanently? The final severing of whatever connection we'd started to build before everything fell apart? The building loomed ahead, glass and steel, the kind of place where people like me didn't belong. The elevator ride to the top floor lasted an eternity. When the doors opened, Round was waiting. His expression was unreadable. "Come in," he said, and I stepped forward into whatever judgment awaited. The penthouse was exactly what I expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Minimalist furniture that probably cost more than my entire apartment. Everything clean and sharp and intimidating. Seojin stood by the windows, arms crossed. He didn't turn when I entered. Round gestured to the couch. "Sit." I remained standing. "If you brought me here to tell me to stay away from you, just say it. I don't need, we owe you an apology." The words stopped me cold. Round ran a hand through his hair, the first crack in his composed exterior I'd seen. "We handled everything wrong. At the wedding, after. We reacted out of anger and didn't listen when you tried to explain." "You had every right to be angry," I said quietly. "I dragged you into a disaster." "No!" Seojin finally turned from the window. His eyes were shadowed, tired. Myung dragged all of us into her trap, and we fell for it." I didn't understand. "What are you talking about?" Round pulled out his phone and set it on the coffee table between us. A video file was queued up. "After we blocked your calls, we spent 3 days being furious, feeling betrayed. Then Seojin said something that made us reconsider. You asked us for help because you were desperate," Seojin said. "Not because you wanted to use us. There's a difference. So we hired a private investigator." Round tapped the phone. The video began to play. Security footage, black and white, a pharmacy interior. The timestamp showed the day before the wedding, and there she was, Myung, walking up to the counter, handing over cash, the pharmacist pulling bottles from behind the counter. Lots of bottles, my suppressants. "She used a fake name," Round explained, "but her face is clear. Our investigator got the transaction records. She bought every bottle they had in stock, then paid the owner an additional $5,000 to deny your refill request and delete any record of the purchase." I couldn't breathe. But here's what makes it worse. Seojin pulled up medical documentation on a tablet. Myung has a medical degree. She didn't finish her residency, but she has enough knowledge to understand omega biology. She knew exactly when your heat cycle would hit. How could she possibly? "Taejun," Round's voice went cold. "He kept records. Your cycle history from when you were together. She had access to all of it. The violation of that hit me like a physical blow. My private medical information, used as a weapon." "She calculated it perfectly," Seojin continued. "Knew that without suppressants, you'd start showing preheat signs at the wedding. Elevated temperature, scent changes, biological responses you couldn't control. That's why Taejun cornered me," I whispered. The realization made my stomach turn. He could smell it. Exactly. Round's jaw tightened. Myung positioned him there. Told him you wanted to talk privately. Knew his alpha instincts would respond to your preheat scent even if he didn't consciously recognize what was happening. "She weaponized biology," Seojin said. "Made sure Taejun would act exactly as she predicted. Then showed up with her camera to capture the aftermath." The calculation was breathtaking in its cruelty. Myung hadn't just created a scandal. She'd orchestrated it using the most fundamental aspects of omega and alpha nature against us. "But why?" I asked. "She is still ridiculing me out there." "Because publicity isn't enough." Rayon pulled up financial documents. The Chai family is drowning in debt. The brand launch gives them visibility and a bit of foundation, but they need Taejun's family money to actually survive. The wedding has to happen. The merger has to go through. "The postponement was strategic," Seojin added. "Makes her look sympathetic. But our sources say she's already rescheduling, probably within the month." I sank onto the couch as the full scope of Myung's plan became clear. She needed the scandal to launch her brand, but she also needed to make sure Taejun stayed loyal despite it. Make him feel guilty. And make him desperate to prove himself to her. And you were the sacrifice for both goals, Round said quietly. He sat beside me. She destroyed your reputation to build hers, then used the same scandal to tighten her hold on June. It's still working. My voice felt hollow. Her brand is exploding, and June will marry her because he thinks he owes her after what happened. Not if we expose everything. Seojin moved to my other side. The pharmacy footage, the calculation behind the bathroom incident, all of it. But we need you to trust us this time. Rand's hand covered mine. Warm, steady. No more running, no more trying to handle things alone. His scent hit me then, cedar and something darker, richer than I remembered. It made my pulse stutter, and Seojin's scent joined it. A clean and expensive with an edge that made my skin feel too warm. I should have been numb to alpha pheromones, should have been protected by suppressants, but my body responded like I had no defenses at all. Johan, Round's voice dropped lower. His eyes tracked the flush spreading across my skin. When did you last take your suppressants? The question didn't register immediately. My thoughts were scattered, overwhelmed by their proximity and the way their scents wrapped around me like a physical touch. I tried to think. 3 days? 4? You haven't taken any since the wedding and maybe the interview, Seojin said. Not a question, a realization. The twins exchanged a look. Something passed between them. Something I didn't understand but felt in the sudden shift of air around us. Their sense intensified. It became more focused, more present. My body responded involuntarily, heat flooding my skin, pulse racing. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was defective, broken. So why did my entire body feel like it was waking up for the first time? Rayon leaned closer. His eyes had darkened. Johan, when is your heat cycle due? I counted backward. Days blurred together. I don't know, I admitted. Could be tomorrow. Could be next week. Seojin's hand cupped my face. You're showing early signs right now. That's not possible. The words came out breathless. I don't respond to... You're responding to us, Rayon interrupted. His hand moved to the back of my neck. Right now. Can you feel it? I could, every nerve ending aware of them, every breath pulling their sense deeper. You were never defective, Seojin's eyes held mine. You just weren't with the right alphas. Panic cut through the haze. I'll get more suppressants. No. Both twins spoke simultaneously. Your heat is coming, Rayon said. Soon, and you have no suppressants to hold it back. Seojin leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. Stay with us. I stayed. The decision felt less like a choice and more like gravity. Like my body had already decided even if my mind was still catching up. Round guided me deeper into the penthouse, past the living room with its intimidating perfection, down a hallway where the lighting softened, warmer, more intimate. Their bedroom was massive, king-size bed that could easily fit 3, dark sheets, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city lights below. We'll take care of you, Seojin said from behind me. His hand settled on my lower back, steadying. But you need to understand something first. I turned to face them both. My skin already felt too hot, too tight, the preheat symptoms building with each passing minute. This isn't just about helping you through a heat. Round's eyes held mine. Serious, intent. If we do this, it means something. To us, to you. The bond that forms won't be temporary. I know. The words came out breathless. My body was already responding to their proximity, to the promise of relief and connection. Do you? Seojin moved closer, his scent wrapped around me. Because once we claim you, once the bond sets, there's no going back. You'll be ours, permanently. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it made something deep in my chest loosen, like a lock I didn't know existed finally opening. What if, I had to force the words out, what if even now, even with you, my body doesn't work right? What if Taejun was right and Stop! Round's hand cupped my face, firm but gentle. Taejun was wrong about everything, and even responded to you in the restroom. We already know you're not broken. We've known since the restaurant. How could you possibly... Because your scent called to both of us. Seojin interrupted. Even through suppressants, even when you were trying to hide, we felt the pull immediately. The confession made my breath catch. You knew this whole time? We suspected. Round's thumb brushed my cheekbone. But we needed you to feel it too. Needed you to understand you weren't defective. Just waiting for the right match. Heat flooded my face, my body. The preheat symptoms intensifying with their words, their touch, their sense surrounding me. It's starting, I whispered. We know. Seojun's hands moved to my waist. Let us help you. The heat hit fully then, like a switch flipping. My control shattered. Need overwhelming everything else. The pain and desperate arousal mixing until I couldn't tell them apart. I reached for Rayon because he was closest, because my body demanded contact, demanded relief. He caught my hands, brought them to his chest, let me feel his heartbeat racing as fast as mine. We've got you, he murmured. Then his mouth found mine. The kiss demolished me, gentle at first, then deeper, his tongue sliding against mine, while his hands gripped my hips, holding me steady while my legs threatened to give out. Seojun's mouth found my neck, the scent gland there, his tongue dragging across the sensitive skin in a way that made me gasp into Round's kiss. So responsive, Seojun breathed against my throat. Nothing like what he told everyone. They undressed me slowly, reverently, each piece of clothing removed with careful attention, like unwrapping something precious. When I stood bare before them, vulnerable and shaking, Ron's eyes dragged over every inch of exposed skin. Beautiful, he said simply. No one had ever looked at me like that, like I was something worth worshipping. Seojun guided me to the bed, laid me down on sheets that smelled like both of them, cedar and expensive cologne, and something uniquely alpha that made my body arch involuntarily. Tell us what you need, Ryan said, kneeling beside the bed. His hand traced patterns on my thigh. You. The word came out broken. Both. Of you. Please. They stripped efficiently. No show. Just practical removal of barriers between us. And then they were there, surrounding me, skin against skin, heat and pressure and overwhelming sensation. Ryan's mouth returned to mine while Seojun worked lower, kissing down my chest, my stomach. Lower still until I was gasping and trembling and completely at their mercy. The first climax hit me like lightning, sharp and overwhelming, my body responding in ways it never had before. Pleasure radiating outward from where Seojun's mouth worked until I couldn't think, couldn't breathe, could only feel. That's it, Round murmured against my ear. Let go. We've got you. When I came down, shaking and oversensitive, Seojun was already there, fingers slick and careful, preparing me. Going to take care of you, he promised. Going to prove how perfect you are. The stretch when he entered was slow, controlled. His eyes never leaving mine as he filled me inch by inch. Breathe, Ron coached from beside me, his hand stroking my hair. You're doing so well. I'd done this before, with Taejun, but it had never felt like this. Never felt right. This felt like coming home. Seojun began to move, slow rolls of his hips that had me clutching at his shoulders. Each thrust deliberate, measured, building sensation until I was begging for more. Ron's mouth found my neck again, the other scent gland, working it with teeth and tongue until I was caught between them, pleasure and pressure and overwhelming rightness. Can you take more? Rayon asked. I nodded, desperate, needing everything they could give. They repositioned me, Seojun pulling out long enough for Rayon to slide underneath me. Then they were both there, pressing into me from different angles, filling me completely. The sensation was too much, not enough. Perfect and overwhelming all at once. They moved together, coordinated, like they'd done this before, like they knew exactly how to work in tandem to drive me out of my mind. I felt something shift, deeper than physical, a connection forming that went beyond bodies. Their sense wrapping around mine, intertwining, becoming something new, the mate bond. I could feel them, not just physically but emotionally, their satisfaction, their possessiveness, their absolute certainty that I belonged with them. Ours, Seojin growled, his control slipping. Say it. Yours, I gasped. Both of you. The bond solidified, snapping into place with almost audible force, and then I was lost again, climaxing so hard I saw stars, my body clenching around both of them while they groaned and followed me over the edge. We collapsed together, tangled and breathing hard, sweat slicked and trembling, but the heat wasn't done, just dormant, building again. They stayed with me through the night, taking turns, sometimes together, sometimes one holding me while the other brought me to completion again and again. At some point, I started crying, not from pain, from relief, from finally understanding what I'd been missing, what Taijun could never give me. Shh. Round pulled me against his chest. We're here. We're not going anywhere. Seojin pressed against my back, sandwiching me between them, safe and claimed and wanted. Never defective, he murmured. Never broken. Just ours. Dawn broke eventually, gray light filtering through the windows, my heat subsiding to a manageable simmer. I lay between them, exhausted and marked, their scents all over my skin, bite marks on my neck and shoulders, evidence of claiming that went beyond physical. The mate bond hummed beneath my ribs, constant, reassuring, connecting me to both of them in ways I was only beginning to understand. How do you feel? Round asked quietly. Different. I tried to find better words. Complete. Seojin's hand traced lazy patterns on my hip, possessive even now. You were always complete. You just needed the right people to see it. I wanted to stay in this moment forever, in this bed where nothing else existed, where Myung and scandals and public opinion couldn't touch us. But reality was waiting. Round's phone rang, shrill and intrusive. He reached for it reluctantly. It's the investigator, he said, then answered. Yes? I watched his expression change as he listened, watched the tension return to his shoulders. When? Round's voice went cold. Are you certain? A pause. Understood. Send me everything. He hung up, looked at both of us. The contentment from moments ago replaced by something harder. Mi-young just made an announcement, Round said. The wedding is back on. My stomach dropped. When? Seojun asked. 3 days. Round's jaw tightened. Valentine's Day weekend. The peace shattered. Reality crashing back in with brutal force. Mi-young wasn't done, wasn't backing down, and now we had 72 hours to stop her. 3 days to destroy everything Mi-young had built. We spent them planning. Round's tech team worked around the clock to hack into the venue's projection system. Every screen in that ballroom would be under our control. Every piece of evidence ready to display at the perfect moment. We wait until the vows, Round explained, reviewing the timeline for the third time. Maximum impact, maximum audience. She'll have nowhere to hide. Seojin looked at me across the dining table. You don't have to be there. We can handle this without putting you through another wedding. No. The word came out firm, final. I need to be there. Need to face her when the truth comes out. And I'd made another decision, one I hadn't told them yet. I'm not taking suppressants, I said. Both twins went still. Johan, Round started. Everyone thinks I'm defective, that my scent is broken or wrong or not enough to attract an alpha. I met their eyes. I want to prove them wrong. Let my real scent show. Let every alpha in that room respond to what I actually am. It's risky, Seojun said carefully. Your scent will draw attention. Could cause a scene. Good. I smiled without humor. Let it be a scene. Let them all see exactly how wrong they were about me. Round studied me for a long moment, then nodded. If that's what you want, we'll be right beside you. Valentine's Day arrived with perfect weather. Sunny, mild. The kind of day that made everything look like a fairy tale. The venue was even more extravagant than before. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures shaped like hearts, 500 guests in designer clothes, camera crews capturing every moment for the society pages. Mi-young's second chance at her perfect wedding. I walked in flanked by the twins, wore a suit that cost more than my monthly rent, held my head high despite the whispers that followed us. He actually came back. After everything, he shows his face here again. The audacity. Mi-young stood near the entrance in her wedding gown. Pristine white, delicate lace. She looked like every bride's dream. Her eyes found mine. Narrowed. She hadn't expected me to return, hadn't planned for this variable, but her smile never faltered. Johan, how unexpected. I didn't think you'd want to relive that unfortunate incident. I wouldn't miss this for anything, I replied. Something flickered across her expression. Uncertainty, maybe. But it vanished quickly behind her perfect mask. The ceremony began exactly on schedule. Taejun waited at the altar in his tuxedo, looking handsome and successful and completely unaware of what was about to happen. I sat in the back with the twins on either side of me, their presence steadying, grounding. My suppressants had worn off an hour ago. I could feel my natural scent beginning to emerge. Subtle at first, building. The officiant spoke about love and commitment, about two souls joining together, standard wedding script delivered with practiced warmth. Myung walked down the aisle, perfect steps, perfect smile, flash bulbs popping as photographers captured her moment. She reached the altar, took Taejun's hands, the picture of happiness. If anyone has reason why these two should not be wed, the officiant intoned, speak now or forever hold your peace. Round's hand found mine under the cover of the pew. Squeezed once. The signal. The massive screens flanking the altar flickered. The romantic slideshow of Taejun and Mi-young's relationship disappeared, replaced by security footage. Mi-young at the pharmacy counter, handing over cash. The pharmacist pulling bottle after bottle of suppressants from behind the counter. Gasps rippled through the crowd. What is this? Mi-young's voice carried across the suddenly silent hall. The footage continued. Timestamps, transaction records, the fake name she'd used highlighted in red. Then the phone records appeared, the burner phone purchased on her credit card, the threatening texts sent to me, side-by-side comparison of the messages. This is a mistake, Mi-young said. Louder now, desperate. Someone hacked the system. This isn't real. But the evidence kept coming. Medical records showing she'd illegally accessed my cycle information. Bank statements proving she'd bribed the pharmacy owner. Email chains between her and journalists she'd paid to keep running negative stories about me. Every calculated move, every manipulation, displayed for 500 witnesses to see. Taejun's face had gone white. Mi-young, what is this? It's fake, all of it. Someone's trying to sabotage us. The metadata is all there, Round called out from our pew, his voice carrying effortlessly. Timestamps, IP addresses, financial records, everything can be verified. Mi-young's perfect composure cracked. You did this. No, I stood, every eye turning to me. You did this. You orchestrated everything. The suppressant sabotage, the bathroom incident, the scandal, all of it to launch your brand and secure this wedding. You're delusional, she spat. Am I? I stepped into the aisle, my scent fully emerging now. No suppressants to mute it, just my natural omega scent flooding the space. Rich, warm, intoxicating. I watched it hit the alphas in the room, watched heads turn, pupils dilate, involuntary physical responses rippling through the crowd. Not broken, not defective, not cold or unresponsive, just an omega who'd been with the wrong alpha. See, I said, nothing wrong with me. Never was. The twins moved to my side, their presence immediate and possessive. Then in front of everyone, they dropped to their knees. The gesture was unmistakable, traditional, binding. Round pulled out a ring, platinum with small diamonds. Johan Seo, you are our mate, our match, our choice. Seojin produced a matching ring. We claim you publicly, permanently, if you'll have us. My breath caught. This wasn't part of the plan. This was real. Yes, I whispered. Mi-young screamed, a sound of pure rage. She rushed toward us, gown trailing behind her, face twisted with fury. You ruined everything. This was supposed to be my day, my triumph. She didn't make it 3 steps. Taejun caught her arm, spun her around, and slapped her. The sound cracked through the hall like a gunshot. Complete silence followed. You used me, Taejun said, his voice shaking with fury. You manipulated me, made me believe he was the problem when it was you all along. Myung's hand flew to her face. Taejun, the wedding is off. He ripped the boutonniere from his lapel, threw it to the ground. Your family can drown in your debt. I want nothing to do with any of you. He walked away, down the aisle, past the shocked guests, out the doors, without looking back. Myung stood there, frozen, her perfect wedding destroyed, her lies exposed, her carefully constructed victim narrative demolished. Then chaos erupted. Guests talking over each other, cameras flashing, Myung's family rushing forward trying to salvage something, anything. But I didn't care about any of it, because the twins were sliding rings onto my finger, claiming me in front of everyone who'd ever doubted my worth. And when they kissed me, slow and possessive and absolutely certain, I finally understood what it meant to be chosen. Not despite who I was, because of it. The wedding that was supposed to be Myung's became ours instead. The car door closed, and the chaos disappeared behind tinted windows. I sat between the twins in the back seat, their rings heavy on my finger, my heart still racing from everything that had just happened. The wedding, the exposure, the proposal. Myung's scream still echoed in my ears. Breathe, Round said quietly. His hand found mine, squeezed. I hadn't realized I'd stopped. The driver navigated through traffic while my phone exploded with notifications. Social media, news alerts, messages from people I hadn't heard from in months. I turned it off. There's something else we need to discuss, Seojun said. His voice was careful, controlled. About Taejun. My stomach tightened. What about him? What he did to you in that bathroom, cornering you, forcing himself on you. Round's jaw was tight. That was assault, and we want to press charges. The words hit me like cold water. No, I don't want more attention, more scrutiny. You deserve justice, Seojun said. He doesn't get to walk away from what he did just because Myung manipulated him. He made his own choices. The venue has security footage, Round added. Clear evidence of what happened. His family will try to bury it, pay people off, make it disappear, unless we act now. I wanted to say no, wanted to put all of this behind me and move forward, but something stopped me. Taejun had put his hands on me, had trapped me in that bathroom, had used my vulnerable state against me. And if I let it go, what message did that send? That omegas could be assaulted without consequence as long as the alpha had a good excuse? Okay, I whispered. Do it. The legal process moved faster than I expected. The twins' lawyers were efficient, ruthless. Within 3 days, charges were filed. Security footage was submitted as evidence. Witness statements collected. Taejun's family tried exactly what Raon predicted. Offered settlement money, NDAs. Quiet. Resolution that would protect their name. The twins refused every offer. This isn't about money, Seojun told their lawyer during a call I overheard. This is about accountability. Your client assaulted someone. He faces consequences. That's not negotiable. The court hearing was small, private, just lawyers and a judge, and the evidence that spoke louder than any testimony. Footage of Taejun cornering me, grabbing me, ignoring my attempts to push him away. The judge's expression grew harder with each replay. Guilty, community service, mandatory counseling, criminal record. Taejun's father tried to argue, tried to claim his son had been manipulated, under stress, not thinking clearly. The judge wasn't interested in excuses. Your son made a choice to use force against someone vulnerable, she said. The circumstances don't erase that choice. Taejun was required to make a public statement. No lawyer spinning the narrative. No careful PR management. Just him admitting what he'd done. I watched the video from the safety of the penthouse. Taejun looked smaller somehow, diminished. I assaulted Johan Seo, he said, reading from a prepared statement, but the words still landing like stones. I used his vulnerable state to force unwanted contact. I take full responsibility for my actions. There is no excuse. The comments section filled immediately. People who defended him before now calling for his head. His family's company distanced themselves, removed him from his position. Within a week, Taejun went from successful heir to social pariah, just like Myung. The news cycle moved fast after that. Myung's brand collapsed completely. The Che family company filed for bankruptcy. Every bridge she'd built with my humiliation burned to ash, and public opinion shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't the homewrecker or the defective Omega. I was the victim, the survivor, the one who'd been targeted by two calculating people and came out stronger. The twins' company stock didn't just recover, it surged. Investors respected their integrity, their refusal to let injustice slide even when it would have been easier to stay quiet. 1 week after the legal resolution, I moved into the penthouse officially, not as a guest, as home. The twins had prepared for it, created space for me that wasn't just about sharing their life, but building a new one together. They'd converted one of the spare rooms into a studio, professional-grade kitchen equipment, storage for ingredients, everything I needed to continue my pastry work. "You're talented," Round said when he showed me. "We want you to grow that talent, not hide it." I stood in that studio and cried, because Taejun had called my baking a hobby, something cute but ultimately unimportant, something I'd give up once we were married and I had real responsibilities. The twins saw it as a career, as valuable, as mine. 3 months passed in a blur of healing and building. My pastry business grew, small at first, custom orders for private events, then larger contracts, corporate functions, my reputation spreading through word of mouth and genuine quality. The twins supported without interfering, offered connections without pressuring. Let me build something that was entirely my own. Valentine's Day came around again, 1 year since Taejun's disastrous wedding, since the moment that had destroyed my life and rebuilt it into something better. The twins planned our mating ceremony for that day. Deliberate reclamation of a date that had once meant pain. Small gathering, intimate. My parents flew in. The twins' mother was there. A handful of close friends, no cameras, no performance, no 500 strangers judging every moment. Just us, making promises that actually meant something. "I choose you," Round said during his vows. "Not because you're perfect, because you're real, because you see us the same way." "I choose you," Seojun echoed. "Every day, in every way, for as long as you'll have us." My turn. My voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. "I choose both of you, because you chose me when I couldn't choose myself, because you saw worth where I'd been taught to see defect, because you turned the worst day of my life into the beginning of the best." The marking ceremony was traditional, private, both twins leaving their claim on my scent glands, permanent, visible, mine. I wore their marks with pride, physical proof that I belonged exactly where I was meant to be. The reception was small but warm, real laughter, genuine celebration, no one performing for cameras or calculating social advantage. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Someone had left it on the table. Mi-young's engagement announcement. To a man 40 years her senior, wealthy but cold-looking. Clearly another transaction. And below it, an update about Taejun, spotted working at a retail store. His family had disowned him, cut him off completely. I should have felt satisfaction, vindication, sweet revenge. Instead, I just felt grateful I'd escaped. "You okay?" Seojin asked, noticing my expression. "Yeah." I set the phone down. "Just thankful for everything that led me here." Round raised his glass. "To the future. To building something real, together." We toasted, drank, celebrated not what we'd escaped, but what we'd found. 1 year later, I was in our kitchen, experimenting with a new pastry recipe, chocolate and cherry, the scent filling our home. The door opened. Both twins arriving home from the office, their scents mixing with sugar and butter and everything warm. "Smells incredible," Round said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Seojin kissed my temple. "You're incredible." And I realized something. The question that had started everything, "Will you be my date?" had transformed into something bigger. "Will you be mine? Forever?" And the answer would always be yes. The end. If this story of reclaiming worth, Finding true mates and turning pain into power touched your heart? Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever felt like you weren't enough, only to discover you were simply with the wrong people? Johan's journey from humiliation to happiness reminds us that sometimes our greatest breakdowns lead to our most beautiful breakthroughs. Like this video if you believe everyone deserves alphas who choose them fiercely and completely. Comment which moment hit you hardest. Was it the proposal at the ruined wedding? The justice Johan finally received? Or the quiet happiness of that final kitchen scene? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these emotionally charged Omegaverse love stories. Because you deserve tales where the broken become whole, where villains face consequences, and where true mates find each other against all odds. Your worth was never the problem. You were just waiting for the right story to begin. See you in the next one.